Good evening, guys. Good evening. Thursday night, 8 o'clock, Boxing Gossip live phone-in show. Thanks to everyone who joins, either to watch live or to those who maybe join slightly later or watch it after it's been recorded. Because when this live stream is finished, we will get it up and running. We will get it uploaded to the channel straight away afterwards. We got Terence Talbot, Nur Ibrahim, and Bruce Wayne already in the chat, as well as Alex Bussell. Hello, guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Terence is winding people up with the takeovers. Yeah, very funny. Anyway, before we get started onto the live show in earnest, let me just give you a few bits of channel news. Been a slightly quieter time this week, actually, after Frampton versus Quigg. You know, obviously it was quite busy leading up to that fight. And to be fair, there's a lot of very good boxing around the corner. We got Eubank Blackwell. We've obviously got the Anthony Joshua Charles Martin fight. Going into May, you've got Canelo Khan. Later on in the year, probably Fury Klitschko. You know, there's a lot of real top-class boxing to look forward to. Slightly quieter. You know, this week isn't bad. We've got Skeet versus Eggington on Sky. Tony Thompson versus Luis Ortiz. Ruslan Chagayev versus Lucas Brown. Week after, you've got Derry Matthews versus Terry Flanagan. So there's still a lot going on. And in terms of the boxing this weekend, I've got videos up and uploaded on the channel on Brown versus Chagayev, on Thompson versus Ortiz. I also had a discussion on a collaboration video about Eggington versus Skeet. So if you're interested in hearing a more sort of detailed breakdown of any of those fights, they've gone up on the channel relatively recently, so do check them out. I've done a number of collaboration videos recently. I did one with Jet this week. Jet usually calls into the live show and has his own channel, which is Boxing Discussions. The previous week, I did a collaboration with Joker Boxing. He's got a fairly big boxing YouTube account. A lot of you guys will already know and subscribe to Joker Boxing. But yeah, really enjoyed those two collaborations. We filmed for about an hour on both occasions, so please do check those ones out also. And if you're not already, subscribe to both of those channels. You know, two really knowledgeable guys. I'm doing a giveaway this week, as promised. I have Ian John Lewis's biography, which he sent to me after I did the interview with him on the channel about a month ago. I don't know if you'll be able to see or not from home, but it has been signed by Ian. You probably can't see that, can you? But he signed it. He's put enjoy the read, my friend. Best wishes, Ian John Lewis. So we're going to give that away. What we're going to do for that, if people are interested, is we're going to do it based on the Sam Eggington versus Bradley Skeet fight. And it's going to be the person who gets the prediction right for that fight wins. And if you're picking a KO, we're going to go, what round do you think the KO will come? And which man scores the KO? If you're picking a decision, I want a scorecard. And whoever gets the scorecard, let's say that's closest to what the three judges choose, then we will award the prize that way. So I don't know how many people will be interested in that. How much interest there is for the Eggington Skeet fight, but yeah, I'm going to give away this book. I Am the Referee by Ian John Lewis. I read a copy of it myself. Not this copy. This is Pristine and Brando. But I read a copy of it myself. It is a very enjoyable read. I'm not just saying that because you know, I like Ian John and I've had him on the channel. It's actually like quite an interesting perspective, to be fair. You kind of, you know, see a lot of what goes on behind the scenes and a lot of the politics and, you know, stories in boxing from a different perspective. So yeah, whether you like Ian John Lewis or not, whether you think he's a great referee or not, I think if you're a boxing fan, it adds definite a different perspective to what goes on in the sport. So for me personally, I found it very enjoyable. But there you are. What I'll do for that one, for the book giveaway, is I'll post a separate video probably tomorrow. I don't want people commenting on the live stream chat about it. The reason being that it won't save, so there won't be any record of it, and I'm not going to be able to work out who's won. So I'll post a separate video. If you're interested in taking part, you can leave a comment in that separate video. That will go up either tomorrow or Saturday morning, and then the person who either gets the prediction right or gets closest to getting it right, I will send it straight over to you, and yeah, you can have the book on me. So just looking into the chat, Matt Berry has joined, St. Williams has joined, Rumours has joined, Bruce Wayne says there's a good Showtime card on Saturday, Julian Williams, Tony Harrison, Antoine Douglas on it, Julian Williams and an IBF eliminator, and could fight Charlo next. Yeah, good stuff. I mean, there's lots of cards this weekend, I guess, that are like, yeah, quite good cards, but probably not cards that have crossed over from the hardcore market to the public market. But it's a you know, it's a good weekend nonetheless. Probably just lacking a marquee fight. Rumours says, writing a book, self-important bastard. I'm kidding. Ian John's a good dude. How do I win? Yeah, he didn't actually write the book himself. It was written by another writer actually about Ian John Lewis, but you know, it gives a real perspective, and it's, you know, as if it was from Ian John himself. So how did you win? Again, I'm going to post a separate video for the Skeet Eggington fight, and you can predict how you think that fight's going to go. If you're picking KO, what round it's going to happen. If you're picking points, what your scorecard's going to be, and yeah, we'll go from there really. And the person who gets the closest prediction, I'll send it out to them. So you have to be happy to give me your name and address. I promise I won't stalk you or anything like that. But yeah, there's no point winning it if I can't send the book out to you. So yeah, so we'll get a separate video up on that very soon. So as you guys know, we do the live show every Thursday at this time at 8 o'clock. And one of the things we do on the live show is the option for people to call in. I always think it's better to have a bit of dialogue with someone, have a bit of a back and forth chat, rather than you know, just me ranting at the camera. So there's about 20 people watching this live now. If you're watching, thanks very much for joining. Thanks very much indeed for joining. Could you do me a favor? Hit the thumbs up button. Help me spread the word of this to a wider set of people. If you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel so I can, you know, increase the channel's footprint elsewhere. But yeah, I'm going to open up Skype now, and yeah, if you are watching, very easy. Add me on Skype. My name is boxing.gossip on Skype. Just boxing.gossip. The name of it is also in the title for the live show. If you add me on Skype, you can call in at any time during the live show, and we'll get you straight away on there. The only thing is I only have capacity to take one call at a time, I'm afraid. So yeah, if somebody else is on the line, you won't be able to get through. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some people calling in tonight. Jet, who's usually the first one to call in, is I believe busy tonight, so he won't be calling in. So hopefully we can get some new callers and some people who've called in before and are keen to get back involved. As for topics for tonight, you know, obviously we can talk about the weekend's boxing and some good fights, but realistically we're going to keep it fairly fluid. You know, there isn't a huge marquee fight to analyse in great depth. So yeah, if you've got any suggestions at all, hit me up in the chat. Any questions, any topics you want discussed, just leave a comment in the chat, and yeah, we'll come to it. And yeah, we can have a bit of a back and forth that way. But hopefully someone will call in. We can get a bit more dialogue motoring. Just looking into the chat, we've got First Happy Last, Gaz, and Ruben joining. Ruben says boxing gossip is here. I certainly am. So I've had a message come through on my Skype. It says, hey buddy, let's get on the subject of Irish, Scottish and Welsh fighters. I'd like your take on styles and class. So with that question, are you the person who wrote that, are you kind of suggesting that there's like a Scottish style or a Welsh style of fighting? I don't know. It's not something I've really considered before. Certainly, Welsh fighters I've seemed to have a little bit of a soft spot for. I'm a big fan of Lee Selby. I'm a big fan of Nathan Cleverly. I was a huge Joe Calzaghe fan. But I'm not sure that there's necessarily a different style for each individual Mason. It's not something I've really considered before, to be honest. Rough Muss in the chat says boxing gossip is slowly becoming the king of YouTube boxing pundits. I think I've got a very long way to go before I get there yet. He goes, I used to think Box Talk were elite, but I'm not sure now. To be honest, I'm a massive fan of Box Talk. I won't hear a bad word said about them. I've never spoken to either of those guys actually, but yeah, I'm a real big fan of the stuff they do. They did a video recently, last day or two. I think they call it like the boxing dungeon. It's like room 101 for boxers who've been misbehaving, and I thought it was quality. So I'm a big fan of, I think it's Ryan and Ade, big fan of both of those guys. And yeah, I've got a little bit of a way to go before I'm at their level. But yeah, there's a lot of real good YouTube channels. I was actually speaking to Wingy only yesterday about Ruslan Chigayev versus Lucas Brown, Tony Thompson versus Luis Ortiz. As you guys know, I'm good friends with Ultratech Sport. I could go on for ages. There's so many good YouTube channels out there. Dwyer's obviously the absolute legend of YouTube commentary. The Boxing Voice is another one I tune into. So there's loads and loads and loads of good stuff. And yeah, for me, I've got a little bit of a way to go. But yeah, I enjoy it. So let's see. Maybe one day I'll build a channel up till it's half as big as some of those guys. Who knows? Gaz says Chigayev versus Brown, Ortiz versus Thompson. Pick the winners. Yeah, so let's talk about that then. I think on that particular one, I am going Chigayev to beat Brown. Chigayev is the more experienced operator, been in at a much higher level, obviously. I think he's possibly the more sound. He's defensively sound. I think there's potential for his southpaw stance to cause Lucas Brown problems. I think there's potential for his height to cause Lucas Brown problems. When Lucas Brown is so much taller and he's quite a sort of basic puncher in terms of his punch variety, I think Chigayev, being a slightly shorter guy who can get low, keep his hands high, use a bit of upper body movement, use a bit of head movement, I think that really could cause some major problems for Lucas Brown. I think Lucas Brown, he's obviously a tough guy, a big guy, a strong guy. He is sub-elite in terms of his boxing brain and boxing capability. He's clearly not someone who's boxed throughout his entire career. He's quite slow, unathletic, and defensively, I think he's very flawed. People talk about him being in good shape for this fight, but we're looking at a guy who hasn't fought at this sort of level, who's had years of subpar opponents and years of getting out of shape, and I just think that might come back to bite him. I looked at a sparring session he did the other day against the southpaw, and it was a low-class southpaw, but the southpaw was still hitting him with the jab at absolute will. I think Chigayev beats him on points. It's got the potential to be quite a dull fight. Both of these guys start strong, but after 4 or 5 rounds, they're not the same threat they were at the start of the fight. And I think there's the potential for this to become a wrestling match. They're two tough guys who come forward. They're not the cleanest boxers. I just feel Chigayev has got a bit more class. He's fought at a much higher level. They're both tough and durable. I just think Chigayev technically has quite a bit more and can cause Brown issues. I really do. As for Ortiz v Tony Thompson, I'm going Ortiz by early stoppage. I'm not entirely convinced about Luis Ortiz yet, but for me, Tony Thompson has taken this as a payday. He lost to Malik Scott. At that point, it was going to be hard for him to come back after a loss to Malik Scott. And I think he knew that it was coming to the end of the road. He even said in that fight he would have battered Malik Scott had he been a younger man. I think he knew that it was coming to the end of his career, and he's seen this as one sort of last big payday. So yeah, I think Ortiz based on desire. I think Thompson, as I say, is looking for a way out. I know he's talked a lot, so he's going to knock Ortiz out. I just think the desire might have started to drop after that Malik Scott loss. If you're losing to Malik Scott, you're probably not going to go on to be a world champion at that point. And Luis Ortiz is a really, really strong starter. You know, he comes out like an absolute monster in the first round or two. So I think when Tony Thompson feels that power and that pace, he may well, you know, get hurt and decide that he doesn't want to get up for 10, you know, and just take the paycheck and ride off into the sunset with his money. Yeah, I mean, Tony Thompson, he could cause Ortiz problems if he can go the distance. You know, Ortiz, I'm really, really not convinced about his stamina. Really not convinced about his stamina. I don't think his fighting style necessarily is a style that would work well over 12 rounds either. So, yeah, I think that Tony Thompson has definite potential to outwork Ortiz if the fight goes 12. And you never know, he could... you never know, he could maybe stay on very strongly and watch Luis Ortiz gas. You know, I don't rule stuff like that out. It's very, very possible. But at the same time, I think the sensible money here is very much on, you know, Luis Ortiz getting the early stoppage for me. Ralph Masters, he's got Brown and Ortiz. I disagree on Brown. Gaz says, I'd like Brown to do it. I think he can crack a bit, so a good chance. Yeah, he can crack a bit, but let's not forget, he took Oquendo, went 12 rounds with him. Rudenko went the distance with him. Sorry, this is Brown we're talking about. Yeah, so James Toney went the distance with him. Even though James Toney was in his 40s and hideously out of shape. Rudenko went the distance with him. Yeah, Julius Long went very long with him, let's not forget. So that's my point, is Chigaev is fought at a much higher level. Chigaev went 12 with Valiev and won that fight. Chigaev beat John Ruiz. You know, Chigaev is not going to be an easy guy to knock out. Not only is he tough and durable, he's also very defensively tight. He keeps a real high, stiff guard. I like it. And with him being short, he can kind of tuck up very nicely. So, yeah, Lucas Brown has power, but I'm not sure. The power's been at a certain level. The power's been when he's been knocking out guys like Richard Towers. You know, up at this kind of level, the Chigaev level, not only a tougher guy, but also more defensively astute, it's going to be a problem for him, I think. Alex says, can't see Brown winning. One of the most limited guys who's hyped. Yeah. The phrase that I've used a few times, and I've seen used in my comments a few times, is educated bouncer. And I think that very much is the case. So I'm just going to have a swig of refreshment. We, luckily enough, the Boxing Gossip channel signed a sponsorship deal with Guinness this week. So it's been a good time. First Happy Last Feet has written a comment. To be honest, I do not understand at all. So if you'd like to clarify that, please do. Gaz says, Ortiz versus Chigaev, who have you got? So Gaz, I don't think Ortiz does face Chigaev after this, actually. If you look at the WBA tournament, I believe I'm right in saying that the winner of Chigaev versus Lucas Brown has to face Fraser Quendo due to a court order. And I actually believe the winner of Ortiz versus Thompson has to face Alexander Ustinov. So I think they go separate routes. And I think the winner of, let's say Ortiz beats Thompson, the winner of Ortiz Ustinov then gets to fight against the winner of Fury Klitschko. And then on the other side of the tournament, you've got Ruslan Chigaev versus Lucas Brown. Let's say Chigaev versus Oquendo. So obviously Chigaev, you'd pick to beat Oquendo. On the other side of the tournament, you may well have Tyson Fury versus Luis Ortiz. I'm not sure Tyson Fury will take that fight, not because Tyson Fury would be scared of Ortiz, but because I think Tyson Fury, having been stripped to the IBF, is probably more motivated by the massive fights rather than unifying the titles at this point. And in Britain, there's going to be fights like David Haye, there's going to be fights like Anthony Joshua, and these fights are going to be so much bigger, not just in terms of money, but in terms of celebrity, interest, superstardom, that I think Tyson Fury won't be motivated to fight a guy like Luis Ortiz. Even though I actually think Tyson Fury's got exactly the style to beat Luis Ortiz. So yeah, I mean, in answer to your question, guys, who have I got? Ortiz versus Chigayev. I'd go Ortiz. I think Ortiz has more offensive capability. I think he's a smarter, snappier boxer. And Chigayev, I'm not convinced about over 12 rounds either at this stage of his career. I know he's been a very good fighter in the past, but let's put it this way. He looked devastating against Pianetta last time out, but that was over 1 round. Previously, when he fought Oquendo, he looked absolutely gassed and drained over the distance. So, you know, whilst Ortiz I've got serious stamina concerns about, I'm not sure Chigayev would be the guy to bring those out. So I think Ortiz wins that fight. Shane Williams, hello, says Brown may well become a gatekeeper at best for the future. Yeah, I mean, Brown's already 36. I mean, you know, you think he'd want the big paydays, and there might be big paydays for Lucas Brown in the UK. You know, he's promoted by Hatton. He's got some sort of brand over here. Maybe he could be used against Dillian White. Maybe he could be used against David Haye. Maybe he could be used for Hughie Fury. Maybe he could even be used for David Price or Derek Chisora. Who knows? Who knows? You know, if he goes on to win this fight, potentially there are some real big fights out there for him. Because I know that the version of the title he'll hold is a bit Mickey Mouse, but potentially some guys will want to get a voluntary fight against Lucas Brown for that WBA regular title. So don't be surprised if that makes him a much more marketable guy in terms of getting fights. But as I say, I believe he'll have to immediately defend the belt against Oquendo. And what an unappealing fight that is for Lucas Brown. You know, Lucas Brown, if he were to win, would be 36, 37. Limited lifespan in the sport at that age. And, you know, to have to face Freza Oquendo in a fight that would have very, very limited public interest and generate very little money would certainly be frustrating for him. I'm going to go through the chat because no one's calling in, but if anyone's watching and does want to call in, add me on Skype, boxing.gossip, and just call in, we'll get you straight on air. First happy, last beat. Matthews versus Flanagan. Who have you got and in what way? Flanagan, comfortably. I mean, is anyone out there even picking Matthews for this? Gaz says WBA tournament is stupid. It's such a fake tournament, isn't it? I mean, it's not even really a tournament. It's a collection of fights they're putting together to try and generate large sanctioning fees, you know, rapid sanctioning fees, you know, keep the money ticking over. But let's be honest, half of these fights were already made before they even announced the tournament. Rough Must Turbo Flanagan will batter Derry. Yeah, I don't think there's too many disagree with you. Gaz, I can't see Fury versus Haye ever happening. Fury will never give him a payday no matter how big the purse is. Gaz, I'm inclined to agree with you. Well, let's put it this way. Let's say Tyson Fury beats Vladimir Klitschko. Let's say he beats Deontay Wilder. Let's say he beats Anthony Joshua. And that's big ifs. You know, all of those are big ifs. But if we take those 3 guys out of the equation, who else is there for Tyson Fury to fight for mega money? You know, Fury, David Haye, could that do 80,000 tickets at Wembley? Yes. Could that do 1 million pay-per-view buys at £20 a pop? Yes. You know, what I'm getting at is that an event that could bring in £30 million of revenue? It probably is. And to be honest, there aren't that many fights in world boxing that could bring out that much money. Now, at this point, I think Tyson Fury is very reluctant to fight David Haye, given past history. But let's say Vladimir Klitschko retires. Let's say Anthony Joshua gets chinned by Charles Martin. You know, and let's say Deontay Wilder gets sparked by Alexander Povetkin. Now, those things aren't an impossible strain of events. You know, those things could quite realistically actually happen like that. If they were to go down in that fashion, where would be the real big fights for Tyson Fury? You know, David Haye is an older guy. I think he's 35, isn't he? So, you know, in due course, David Haye himself will be starting to decrease in his capability as a boxer. You know, maybe Tyson Fury will look at David Haye. Maybe he'll think that David Haye is becoming more and more beatable by the day. And maybe he will start to fancy that fight again, because it's a huge, huge revenue fight. And now, as dominant world champion, perhaps Tyson Fury can command a bigger split. The other thing is David Haye may be more reluctant to pull out of the fight this time, given his supposed financial problems and given the fact that he doesn't really have too much future ahead of him being an older guy now. He perhaps needs to gamble and actually take a real fight at some point. Alex says Matthews versus Flanagan. I've got Flanagan by wide points. Fair enough. Callum, Bobby, who have you got? Saddam Ali versus Jesse Vargas. Great matchup, in my opinion. Potential fight of the weekend. Yeah, I mean, these are two guys I'm very aware of. Obviously, the Tim Bradley fight for Vargas. Obviously, Saddam Ali, yeah, it's a high prospect. I would say, if I'm honest, they're not two guys whose careers I've followed too closely. I don't have a huge knowledge about both guys. Vargas was beaten fair and square by Bradley. He did have some moments in that fight. Saddam Ali, probably not seen enough of him to fully make a judgment, but based on the levels I've seen them perform at, I would say a slightly into Vargas. Rough Musters, he'd love for Fury to beat David Haye in the ring. David Haye must have his braids tied too tight if he think he can beat Fury. Look, I think Fury beats every heavyweight in the world. David Haye could beat Fury though. David Haye, say what you want about him, the guy can punch very hard, and it only takes one shot in heavyweight boxing. I think Fury's got a style to beat him. I've always fancied Fury in that fight, even when it was first made. But you know, you wouldn't want to rule David Haye out. David Haye is a dangerous opponent for any man. Gauss's Fury Povetkin in Moscow would be massive. Not, you know, it'd be big money because of what the Russians pay, but it's not a huge interest fight. You know, the public don't know Povetkin like they know Anthony Joshua, for example, guys. Rough Muscles, David Haye's only real fight is his fight for relevancy. Yeah, I get that. I saw him campaigning to make, you know, Muhammad Ali a knight this week, and I'm thinking, why is David Haye doing that? Is it just to try and get himself in the newspaper again? Ruben says, do you see anyone in the world who could beat Fury? There's lots of people who could beat Fury, but to answer your question, there's nobody in the world I would pick to beat Fury. For me, you know, Fury, definite number one. Joker Boxing says, hello, what's up, Boxing Gossip? I've heard Tyson Fury talk about his retirement recently. I'm still wondering how much his heart is in the sport. Give me a second. Still has the skill set to beat anyone, but I wonder how long he'll stick around. You know, I think Fury will stick around. He throws out a retirement thing every so often. For me, it's his way of keeping himself entertained and keeping the public chatting about him. I think he's an out-and-out boxer. I think he loves the sport, and I don't see him retiring at all. If you want to call in Joker Boxing, by the way, hit the call button. We'll get you straight on. Roughmus says, I don't see anyone beating Fury. Best fight would probably be Wilder. Yeah, don't disagree. Callum says he doesn't rate Wilder or Fury. Yeah, I think it's hard not to rate Fury based on the Klitschko win, Callum, but each to their own. Rothmus says Ortiz is the real threat to the heavyweights and could give Fury a good fight. Callum says, I know you guys like Fury, but come on, take away his good movement. And what does he have? He lacks power and a dodgy chin. He's not the biggest puncher in the world, Callum. I don't know how you can say he's got a dodgy chin. You know, I know he got dropped by Steve Cunningham, but he actually showed a good chin in that fight because when he got dropped, he was able to get straight back up and fight on. So I don't think he's got a dodgy chin. He took good punches from Vladimir Klitschko on 1 or 2 occasions, and his chin held up very, very well, actually. Much better than Kubrat Pulev's chin, much better than Alex Leopold's chin, etc., etc. You know, what does Fury have other than his movement? He's got a good jab. He's got superb size. He's got real good speed for a big man. He's got the ability to fight inside and outside. He's got superb punch variety. You know, Fury has got a lot. Let me ask you, what is it that Fury doesn't have? That is the bigger question. Yeah, he doesn't have elite one-punch knockout power, but apart from that, I see him as a fairly complete fighter. Davin says Ortiz is the best at the minute. I think it's hard to say he's the best at the minute based on the fact that he's only really had 1 fight of note, and Brian Jennings performed unbelievably poorly in that. But yeah, Ortiz did look very good. Shane Williams, Tyson versus Parker when he beats the Cam. AJ, All Martin, and David Hay. I would bet my life savings on him beating all of those guys. Yeah, I think Tyson Fury does beat all of those guys, definitely. Rough Musk says, why do people say Fury has a dodgy chin? He caught flush by Cunningham, went down and didn't seem hurt at all. Absolutely, yeah. And Rough Musk makes a fair point. He says he's never seen Fury hurt. And I've never seen Fury hurt. And on both occasions, Fury's been down in his pro career. He's got straight back up again. And I believe won by knockout in the same round he's been hurt. Callum says, who have you seen him fight? Bar a 40-year-old Klitschko. Callum, this is the great misconception here. You know, Vladimir Klitschko, in my opinion, top 10 all-time great heavyweight. You know, 10 years of dominance. And I was saying this long before the Fury Klitschko fight was even announced. Vladimir Klitschko wasn't a shot fighter in that fight. He had relatively recently dispatched a world-class opposition, knocked out Kubrat Pulev, won every round against Povetkin, dropping him 6 times, I believe. Vladimir Klitschko's game for me was, yeah, he's a fighter who peaked late. Vladimir Klitschko was a dominant force well into his late 30s. And for me, his age has nothing to do with it. That was a superb win from Fury against a genuine all-time top 10 great heavyweight. Who else have I seen him in with? Derek Chisora. He's unspectacular, but top 20. Steve Cunningham, again, he's unspectacular, but top 15. There's other bits of relevant form, you know. Let me put it this way. If you look at Fury's best 3 wins, Chisora, Cunningham, and Klitschko, who else in the division has a resume that can compete with that? You could make a case for Alexander Povetkin. You could certainly make a case for Vladimir Klitschko, obviously. But, you know, who are Deontay Wilder's 3 best wins? Stavern, Malik Scott, Spilko. I mean, you wouldn't seriously pick one of those 3 to upset Klitschko, would you? Ruben says Fury took all the shots from Vlad and didn't wobble. Correct. Gaz says Fury took a clean shot from Vlad and just laughed. Correct. First happy, last beat. Matchroom to me seem to be selling us hype fights that seem okay, but when you compare them to the American promoters. James says Ortiz is a steroid cheat. Factually, that's correct. Callum says Klitschko hardly threw any punches, mate. Come on. Yeah, but why didn't Klitschko throw any punches? You know, why was that the case, Callum? It's like Frampton Quigg. You know, you have to give some credit to Frampton that Quigg didn't do anything, because Frampton was so awkward and so good at his movement and angles that it made it hard for Quigg to launch into his game. It's the same with Fury versus Klitschko. Klitschko didn't suddenly become a fighter without a jab. You know, Klitschko's got one of the best jabs of all time. Yeah, he didn't suddenly forget how to throw the jab. It was because of Fury's positioning, the very subtle things you don't really see on TV. The range Fury found, the little movement of his feet, you know, in the sort of milliseconds before action. You know, that is precisely why Klitschko didn't throw the volume that we usually anticipate. Nothing to do with you know, Klitschko getting old overnight and forgetting how to use his jab. Callum says Fury has a good jab. I see a lazy jab that lacks power. Look at Chisora, he was slapping him all night. Look, it's not all about power. I would admit Tyson Fury doesn't have the most powerful punch or the most powerful jab of all time. But I like what Fury does with his jab. He doubles it up nicely. He goes to the body, he goes to the head. You know, someone like Anthony Joshua has a more powerful jab than Fury. but he doesn't use it as well. He doesn't double it up. He doesn't mix the levels. Doing that with Fury really helps him set up other punches. I remember a fight that Tyson Fury had, and it was one of his more recent fights against an American journeyman. I forget who it was, but it was his comeback fight after 18 months, 2 years out of the ring. And if you look at one of the knockdowns Fury scores in that fight, he throws a double jab, which creates the gap for a big right cross. And if you look at the way he sets it up, that's what I mean, what a superb jab he actually had. Rothmus says, real talk here. Do people think Fury could have some sort of mental illness? I love the guy in and out of the ring, but after watching hours of interviews, I feel he may be a troubled soul. I actually agree with Gaz's response here. No, Fury just gets bored and makes stuff up. Ruben says, Callum, Fury beat Vlad. You can say he was old, but nobody else came close. If he was as bad as you'd think, he would have lost. And if his jab was as weak as you, his opponents would just walk through it. Yeah, I think Ruben's got it absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Okay, I won't go into that stuff. Let me just have a look. Callum says he doesn't buy it, Bud. That was one of the worst all-time performances in a world title fight. I don't buy the logic that Fury made him not throw any punches. Well, the way I see it, Callum, Vlad is a tentative fighter. Vlad is not used to fighting guys who are a similar size to him and as good as Tyson Fury. I know he'd had fights against, 1 or 2 fights against guys like Marius Watt, who are levels and levels and levels below. But Vlad, for me, is a tentative cautious fighter. And when he's fighting smaller men, he can stay out of range and still land his jab because of his size. Against Tyson Fury, he couldn't do that. And that was his kryptonite. You know, he was scared of throwing the jab, Tyson Fury being able to lean back from it and then counterpunch him. And that's what he was able to do that, you know, other fighters have been unable to do. So that, for me, was the key to Fury's victory. Let's have a look. Ruben says the reason Vlad was gun-sized because Fury made him that way. Kanini says Parker versus Joshua. Good fight. It might happen one day. Ruben says, Callum, who is the best heavyweight right now if it isn't Tyson Fury? Alex says Klitschko was gun-side because he was anticipating the consequences of committing against Fury, who is fast and can counter. Yeah, totally agree. Joker Boxing is calling in. Joker Boxing, how you doing? Can you hear me, Joker?
Hey, I'm doing great. Boxing gossip, man.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, very good. Very good. It's 8:30 in the evening here. What time is it where you are?
Man, right now it is 2:39, so a little bit earlier in the day.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Bet the weather's nicer over there as well. But yeah, what are you making of all of this Tyson Fury versus Vladimir Klitschko chat? Were you impressed by the performance or not?
Oh, absolutely, man. I was very impressed by what Tyson Fury did in the first fight with Vladimir. And I think that Tyson is the only heavyweight who could have did that to Vladimir Klitschko. I definitely agree with you in that sense. I mean, the way he boxes, he's very fluid. He moves around the ring. You know, he has the reach and the length, which is something that Vladimir throughout his his tenure at heavyweight, he hasn't had to deal with someone who was taller, who was longer. And that's kind of the question we all had. Which is why a lot of people wanted to see him fight his brother for so long, because we were like, okay, well, how is this guy going to do against someone his own size?
Yeah.
And Tyson Fury showed with all of his different abilities, with the feints, you know, everything was on display. That, you know, I think he just has what it takes to neutralize Klitschko. And I think that wasn't even the best version of Tyson Fury. I think he could perform even better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many elements to Fury's game we didn't even see in that fight. Like, I thought he was going to destroy Klitschko on the inside, but he actually never even had to bring that game out because he was so dominant on the outside. And yeah, I completely agree. You know, I actually thought Vlad really struggled in the early rounds against Cody Thompson because he didn't like Thompson's southpaw stance and he didn't like Thompson's length. You know, against Marius Watt, yeah, Watt was a tall, big guy, but he didn't have the same skill. And I just think Fury made him so nervous and so cautious in there that's why Vlad became low volume overnight. But I still think Vladimir Klitschko is the definite #2 heavyweight in the world.
Oh, I'm with you on that. You know, a lot of people are talking about Vladimir as if he's done. And I kind of agree with what Tyson Fury said, that if he wouldn't have freed up that IBF belt, you know, we wouldn't even really be talking about Anthony Joshua versus Charles Martin right now. Now, obviously, for the sake of excitement, you know, we're glad that we are. But, you know, Tyson Fury definitely opened up the heavyweight division. So we do owe him a thank you for that. And I agree with you that I just think Vladimir still has the length, the size, and the intimidation factor to beat most guys. So I think he still can stick around a lot longer and make a lot of noise. So it's going to be an interesting fight. It's going to be an interesting rematch. Personally, I don't really think Vladimir should be taking that fight straight away because I think he should be trying to build his confidence. I know as crazy as it sounds, but I think that, you know, you could just see he was very shaken up after that fight. He really just had no idea how to deal with Tyson Fury. And he's going to have to be very aggressive. He's going to have to take risk in the next fight, which means that he's going to open himself up to take some very hard shots. Yeah. And anything could happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think no result in that fight would surprise me at this stage. And, you know, I think a lot of people have been very, very quick to write Vladimir off. I think because he was so low volume in the last fight, people think that he's, you know, completely collapsed as a boxer. But I think he's going to have to take risks. He could easily have retired after that fight, but the fact he's fighting on, you know, clearly he doesn't need the money. He's obviously got the desire to try and regain his championship. He's going to have to take risks. And, you know, Vladimir Klitschko is still a very, very dangerous fighter for me.
I'm with you 100%, you know, and I think that people really have to give credit to Tyson Fury because, again, fighting a great counterpuncher like that, a lot of times that's going to offset what you're used to doing offensively. We've seen that a lot of times when great offensive fighters go up against a good counterpuncher, that the volume of the you know, the aggressive fighter kind of goes down. What I'd be interested to see, and if this fight happens again, I totally favor Tyson Fury in this fight. You know, I'd be pulling for him, and I would expect him to win. But even if Vladimir did win, say Vladimir actually managed to beat Tyson Fury, I'd be interested to see if all of the other heavyweights would be chomping at the bit to get a Vlad Klitschko. I think that if you get those belts again, I think that what's going to happen is a lot of heavyweights are probably going to back off a little bit and not really want to go at Vladimir because I just think that, you know, his dominance for so long, I just feel like a lot of these guys, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, I don't feel like they're confident that they could beat Vladimir. I don't think that they're confident that they could beat him. And even if they have a chance in the fight, I just don't think they themselves are confident enough to do it. So, you know, maybe Tyson Fury winning, you know, would be more likely of us as fans to get those type of fights that we want to see because they're more likely to get in the ring with him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Tyson Fury is viewed as kind of a vulnerable fighter because, you know, he does all these interviews where he behaves a bit strangely and he, you know, he gets in very bad shape out of the ring. You know, he goes out and gets drunk and, you know, plays the fool and, you know, he can be quite defensively irresponsible at times during the ring. And, you know, people view him as a flawed individual and a flawed fighter. Whereas with Vladimir, he's kind of got that cold, hard persona. He's kind of got that robotic style. I think he's more intimidating than Tyson Fury, perhaps.
Yeah, Ivan Drago.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
He's the Terminator, man. And I think that really definitely intimidated a lot of people, just like you said. But I don't know, man. I really think Tyson Fury has his number, so we'll see what happens in that one. I kind of wanted to ask you what your opinion was on Carl Frampton and what he should do next and what he will do next, because you know, a lot of people are saying that he should probably fight Regan Yao, but at the same time, there's not a demand for that fight. The excitement isn't really there. And then there's also people who are looking forward to a fight between him and maybe Leo Santa Cruz. So I just want to know what your opinion is on that and what's kind of the overall opinion in the UK of what you're hearing about Carl Frampton and what he should do next.
Funnily enough, an interview just went up on IFL TV. It went up about 10-15 minutes before I went live with Eddie Hearn. And he believes that Carl Frampton may well vacate both belts. He believes that because Frampton has had such a high payday just now against Scott Quigg, he thinks that payday would be over 5 times more than the payday he'd get for fighting Rigondeaux. And obviously, that's a fight where Rigondeaux would be a substantial favourite. At the same time, the fight for the IBF belt, which I believe is against Wake, is viewed as a fight that would generate zero interest and zero revenue whatsoever. There's also rumours in the UK that Carl Frampton and his team are about to announce a deal with a substantial terrestrial TV company over here. Mick Hennessy and his stable have been fighting on Channel 5, but it's believed that Carl Frampton and his team may take their place and announce a deal with Channel 5. So the suggestion could be he will look to move up to featherweight and try and get a fight against Leo Santa Cruz. Whether Santa Cruz will come over to the UK or not, I don't know. Santa Cruz gets paid so much money for fighting over the States. I think he may be reluctant to come over. But it's hard. It's hard. Apparently, if Quigg hadn't hurt his jaw so much, they could have looked at a rematch.
Well, I actually don't think it's a bad thing that they're not going to do the rematch right away. I think that, during this time, Scott Quigg could definitely recover. We wish him a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
But during that time, I think that maybe him moving up and fighting Leo Santa Cruz is pretty smart. Now, it's obviously going to be a very risky fight. Santa Cruz is going to be the favorite, most likely, in that fight. So it's a fight, to me, that doesn't really, it's not going to hurt Carl Frampton that much if he loses, and the rematch is still going to be there. So if we're talking financially, I think that would be a smart move. And, also, Santa Cruz isn't the most defensively aware fighter out there. So he's going to get popped in the face by Carl Frampton. And as we learned in the last fight, man, Carl Frampton has power. We knew that. So it could still be an interesting fight. And the Scott Quigg fight isn't going anywhere. Because I personally do want to see a rematch. Scott Quigg now is going to be much more confident. He's probably going to be much more aggressive. Hopefully they ixnay that game plan from the last fight, because that was horrible. But providing that Scott Quigg could come back and get healthy, maybe even get a good win under his belt in between there, I think that rematch is still alive and well for them.
Absolutely. And apparently if Frampton vacates the belt, which he may well do, Quigg could potentially get a title fight pretty quickly against Wake for that vacant belt. So, it'd be good if Quigg got back in the mix. He's another guy who could maybe consider moving up in weight class. He for me looked very drained at the weigh-in. He's a very big guy for the weight. I don't think on this particular occasion it affected his performance, but as he gets older, it's only going to get harder, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, they definitely both looked pretty thin at the weigh-in, and Scott Quigg, he's the bigger guy. So Frampton was looking drained. You can only imagine how much it must have been killing Scott Quigg to get to that weight. But one thing I got to do is really give Scott Quigg a lot of credit, because a lot of people were, being a little hard on Scott Quigg after the loss, and I understand. But, if you see the picture, man, of this guy's broken jaw, after that fight, to say that happened in the 4th round, and the dude was, literally, he acted like nothing was wrong at all. So he just kind of shrugged that off, continued to fight, gave interviews after the fight and everything, like everything was fine. And then, a day later, we see this guy's jaw, and it's like, goodness gracious, man. You got to give Scott Quigg a lot of credit just for hanging in there.
Absolutely. You do. And do you know the amazing thing is after the fight, when I initially finished watching it, I was saying to people around me, Frampton didn't really look to carry that much power in the fight. Frampton didn't ever hurt Scott Quigg. He never looked like stopping Scott Quigg. And that is huge testament to Scott Quigg, because at no point during that fight did I think Scott Quigg was in trouble. At no point did I think he was hurt, but clearly he was in a very, very bad way. So, Frampton does have power, and Quigg showed, amazing grit and determination to fight on and actually bring the action, carrying that injury.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm excited to see Quigg get back in the ring. Hopefully, though, this guy doesn't have another slow start like that, because if he does, he's going to have to really consider changing trainers, because, we've seen this too many times for him, coming out too slow out the gate. And something I suggested is maybe that had something to do with, him being so weight drained. Maybe it takes a while for him to get kind of, into the fight, get a groove going, get a good sweat going. So I don't know how much that's having an effect on him, like you said. So we'll see. I guess we'll find out his next performance. We'll get a lot of answers on whether he needs to move up or what he needs to do next. But, definitely those vacant belts from Carl Frampton, if he leaves, are going to be good incentive for him to hang around. And I definitely think he could dominate the scene, with the exception of Regendow, with the exception of that. I think he could dominate the scene and then maybe move up, and maybe we get the rematch at a different weight. Who knows? And maybe that weight would favor Scott Quigg.
Absolutely. I mean, perhaps with Scott Quigg being with Eddie Hearn, there is some potential for some fairly big domestic fights. I mean, obviously, Jamie McDonald is one division apart. Perhaps he could fight Scott Quigg, change weight classes. He's a big guy for his weight class. There's another fighter in the UK, Kip Galahad, who is he was doing some good things, getting some good public interest, and is just going to come off a drugs ban towards the end of the year. That would be another fight that would generate some interest. I mean, perhaps there's scope for fights like that for Scott Quigg that will, keep his profile up, keep the momentum he's gained from this fight, and hopefully earning some good money, put him back in the public eye, and then he can look at moving up to featherweight maybe.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you, man. So yeah, hopefully he gets a good recovery. I got one more question I'm gonna ask you, man, and then I'm gonna let you go ahead and go on with your show.
Okay.
I heard some rumors that Charles Martin was getting ready to kind of bulk up for his fight with Anthony Joshua. And I don't know if that's really a wise decision on his part, and I don't really know if that's just gamesmanship, if he's just trying to kind of make Anthony Joshua nervous, maybe make Joshua focus more on bulking up even more so that Martin has a speed advantage there. I don't really know if he's being serious or not, but how do you think that would affect Charles Martin, and do you think that would be wise for him to put on muscle leading up to that Anthony Joshua fight?
Actually, quite a few people messaged me about that today. To answer the first part of the question, I think it would be a terrible move for Charles Martin to put on a load of muscle. He's already a very big, very heavy guy, and I think his chance of winning this fight is by his boxing capability and being able to open gaps in Joshua's defense through his boxing capability. He's not naturally the most athletic, fastest guy, and I think adding, 10 pounds or a stone of muscle is only going to negatively affect him there. So I think it would be a real terrible idea. I genuinely believe Charles Martin is a very smart guy. As I said, I've spoken to him myself a few times. He really knows his boxing. He's a real thinking man's fighter. I genuinely believe he's a smart guy. So I cannot believe he's actually going to do this. I think it's a bit of gamesmanship. And I think part of his thinking is that this is Anthony Joshua's first real fight where AJ is actually going in against someone of his own size who's a good fighter. He fought Gary Cornish before, but this is the first time he's fighting someone who's semi-capable and big. And I think if he can, try and get Anthony Joshua putting on as much weight as possible and trying to make sure that Anthony Joshua is doing weights and, trying to bulk himself up, that's only going to help Charles Martin, because Charles Martin's advantages are more the boxing side, I think. So I'm viewing it as more gamesmanship. I think if Charles Martin wanted to have put on muscle, he'd have done it in the past, rather than, with this specific fight in mind. But yeah, what's your take on that?
No, I'm with you 100%, brother. I actually watched an interview that Tyson Fury did with IFL TV, and obviously Tyson Fury, he's actually picking Charles Martin with the upset in this fight.
Yeah.
And he thinks that Charles Martin's body type is going to be a big part of that. He just doesn't believe in Anthony Joshua. He basically said bodybuilders don't win boxing matches. So, Tyson Fury is going to favor the guy who has more of his body type, and he thinks that's going to give him a speed advantage. So I'm with you. I think that, for Charles Martin to bulk up and try to fight Anthony Joshua at a much bigger size is not going to be very intelligent, because you're slowing your own self down and you're stepping into that guy's wheelhouse. You're going into the area where he's stronger at. He's going to be the stronger guy, the tougher guy on the inside. You know, that's not where your advantages are. You want to be the guy who's slick, who's moving, who's throwing hard shots. So I don't know. I think maybe it's just some gamesmanship, and maybe he's just trying to psych out Anthony Joshua, maybe get in his head a little bit. But all I know is I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think it's going to be really good. It's a dangerous fight for Anthony Joshua, as we brought up in the past. But we will see who wins this title and what happens next, because there's going to be some big unifications out there. Obviously, Joseph Parker is trying to become the mandatory for this IBF title. So we're going to have some very big fights happening really soon in the heavyweight division, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Very, very exciting times. Yeah, it's going to be some real big fights over the next year or two, I hope. But yeah, Joker Boxing, thanks very much for calling in, mate. Much appreciated.
Absolutely, man. You got a great channel. I love tuning in, man. Everybody, if you're not subscribed to Boxing Gossip, man, you want to subscribe. This guy knows his stuff. And I look forward to doing some more videos with you, man, and talking about some of these upcoming fights we have.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it again soon. Cheers, Joker Boxing. Bye now.
Cheers, man. Bye.
So there we are. Joker Boxing calling in. Thanks very much to him. If you're not already, do check out his channel. We did a recent collaboration. But Joker Boxing, very good YouTube channel as well. So check him out. Yeah, he referred to that video there that Tyson Fury did with IFL TV. And Tyson Fury, if you love him, if you hate him, if you're offended by some of the things he says, put that to one side. The guy is a very smart guy. He comes out with some quotes that I personally find very funny. So yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the things he came up with recently. He said, you can't put muscle on a chin. And then he was asked, what do you think about fighting Anthony Joshua? He goes, I feel like a lion looking at a gazelle with a wounded foot, which I thought was very good. And then he's got in trouble with the Animal Rights Brigade recently, and he was like, see this belt? Someone's alligator died for this belt. And whether you find that offensive or not, I must admit my sides were splitting at that point. Yeah, but no, that was good. I think during the Joker Boxing says, thanks for having me, Boxing Gossip. Thanks very much for calling in, Joker Boxing. It's really good to get people calling in. Keeps the show lively, so really appreciate you doing that. If anyone else wants to call in, please follow suit. Whilst I was chatting to Joker Boxing, I had one eye on the chat. There seems to have been a constant theme on the chat about Tyson Fury and his resume. Callum doesn't seem to be the biggest fan. Ruben, is obviously a big Tyson Fury fan, as am I. But yeah, Callum just seems to think that he's. I mean, Callum, what I'd be interested to ask you, and apologies in advance if you've already answered this, but obviously, because I've been doing the show, I haven't stayed 100% glued to the chat. But I've got two questions for you, Callum, if you're watching. Number one, who would you rate as the top heavyweight in the world, if not Tyson Fury? And number two, as I say, I think Tyson Fury is one of the most complete heavyweights I've ever seen, actually. I would admit he doesn't have power at the elite level, so I'm in agreement with you there. But apart from that, what else is missing from Tyson Fury's game, Callum? I'd be interested to know what attributes is missing from his game. Rough muscles, you actually can put muscle on a chin. I had an underdeveloped lower jaw, and he had to move it forward and add muscle. Wow, you learn something every day. Tracy, are there any boxing tips for this weekend? From a gambling perspective, I would probably look at Bradley Skeet. I'm amazed Bradley Skeet isn't favourite for the fight. I think he's about 11 to 8 against. I think that is the one that I would look at personally. Better be far. Hello, says I'm not a big fan, but nobody has made Klitschko look so inept in the ring as Tyson did. Correct. Sam, no doubt Fury is the best heavyweight on the planet. Correct. Rothmus says, Joker, I agree. He is genuinely the funniest man in boxing. Hilarious guy. Callum says, is trolling supposed to be funny? think he's referring to Ruben rather than Tyson Fury, but I'm not sure. Sam says, Fury beat the man no one could beat. That's totally it. And people are so quick to write Vladimir Klitschko off. Vladimir Klitschko, for me, and I'll say it, this is my genuine belief, was looking as unbeatable as Floyd Mayweather. 10 years of dominance. Let's be honest, Alexander Povetkin didn't win a minute of any round against him. Kubrat Pulev didn't win any round against him. David Haye was beaten 10 rounds to 2, 9 rounds to 3 against him. Pulev, Povetkin, Haye, these are elite heavyweights. Klitschko was dominating them, destroying them. People say Fury's got a weak resume. How can he have a weak resume? How can he have a weak resume? Because he's beaten Vladimir Klitschko. It's impossible to have a weak resume and beat Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko is an all-time great. Nab says Khan will outbox Canelo. I hope so. Do hope so. Don't think so though. Escobate has joined. Hello mate, how you doing? Well. Callum says Fury is the best because he has the belts. Fair play to you, Callum. At least you're not biased. Fair play to you. Everyone's got an opinion. So this is what I mean though, Callum. Okay, I said what's missing from Fury's game. You've said power and throwing a round rod jab, rob, and then slapping one. Okay, but if you said what's missing from Wilder's game, defense, back foot movement, inside game, the ability to block a jab, body punching, Tyson Fury is so complete. Southpaw, orthodox, inside, outside, jab, cross, and then like a cheeky uppercut. Sometimes it is him on his own chin, but there you are. Fury is such a rounded fighter. Nabs says Khan is elite and will shock the world. I really do hope so, Nabs. Really do hope so, but I'm not picking him. James says Brown versus Ortiz. I don't know. Do you mean what would I bet on? Brown versus Ortiz. I'd pick Lewis Ortiz. Brown is pretty basic for my money. Shooter, hello, says if Tyson can beat David Haye, Joshua Wilder, and Parker, he'll be hailed as one of the greatest ever. Yeah, I mean he's already beaten Vladimir Klitschko, who I'd consider a top 10 of all time. So, he's a young guy. He's got a huge career ahead of him. He could well go on to be an all-time great. He has the potential to be. It's too early for him to say that at this stage. He's got a long way to go before even being involved in that conversation. But it's not out of the question he could get there. Let's put it that way. Rasmus says Khan is elite at 140, not middleweight. Fair. First happy last beat. Could Fury have beaten Vitali? Yeah. I actually think Vladimir was a better fighter than Vitali. Vitali had a better chin and was more of a natural fighter, but I think Vladimir was more technically sound. I think he was the harder puncher. Let's not forget Chisora went 12 rounds against Vitali. Kevin Johnson went 12 rounds against Vitali. Vitali wasn't a puncher in the same league for me as Vladimir. Callum, Pulev rocked Klitschko with a jab thrown in the first round. Povetkin is a terrible example because it's the worst red fight of all time. But what was amazing in that fight, though, was the complete dominance of Klitschko. Yeah, I agree the referee didn't do the best job, but let's not let that cloud 36 minutes of pure dominance against Povetkin, who would widely be regarded as, at that point, the #2 heavyweight in the world. Vladimir Klitschko was totally dominant in that fight, whether you like the way he did it or not. Sam, the awkward style of Fury is so hard to beat. He fights like a middleweight. Spot on. Nab says, don't underestimate Khan. No, look, I'm a big Amir Khan fan, as you know, but I just think this is too much. Alex says, Vitali is more aggressive. Would have liked to see versus Fury. Vitali could have played into Tyson's hand in terms of countering. Yes, certainly a less cautious fighter, more of a natural, instinctive fighter. Callum says, answer me this. If you take away his massive height and reach advantages, would he be a top 10 heavyweight if he was 6'2"? No, he wouldn't, Callum, no. But we're not taking away his height advantage because he is 6'10" or 6'9". That's like saying if you took away Vladimir Klitschko's height, or took away Muhammad Ali's speed, or George Foreman's power. Fury's size is one of his definite attributes, and his style has been developed because of his height and size. He wouldn't fight that same way if he was 6'2". He'd fight in a different way. So it's hard, No, he wouldn't be effective at 6'2", fighting like a 6'10" guy. But I feel it's a slightly unfair question. Kanini says Parker versus Povetkin. At this point, Povetkin, Parker's got a lot more learning to do. Gaz says, what's missing from Wilder's game when he can't box for a start? Nice. Better by Far says, we can get a measure with Parker taking on to Cam. Yes, good fight. Nab says, Luis Ortiz may beat Fury. He can. I'd really pick Fury in that fight. Ortiz is very dangerous for a few rounds. I feel that in the Jennings fight, whilst he looked very dangerous, he was starting to fade. And actually, Jennings was starting to come into the fight. I thought Jennings fought a terrible fight by fighting up close so much. I think Jennings should have moved. Jennings should have used his athleticism. And I think he'd have caused Ortiz to gas and caused him real trouble had he done that. Tyson Fury, he's a 12-round fighter. He can move very well. He's awkward. I think he could take Ortiz into the late rounds and jam him. Rothmas says there's more missing from Wilder's game than a new EA game. Tutor, Khan couldn't beat Canelo even if he takes a leg of lamb across the glass panel of chin he has. Yeah, I think it's a very one-sided fight in favour of Canelo. Jim says Joshua and Wilder will knock Fury out cold. Neither of them hit as hard as Klitschko, so I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. Do you think Spilka? Do you think Stavern would have gone the distance against Klitschko? Do you think Dillian White would have gone 7 against Klitschko? I don't think so. First happy last beat says Khan. Where are we? Khan looks bigger than Alvarez in recent Twitter posts. He's taller. I don't think he's more powerfully built. Nab says Khan is alongside the Mayweathers and Pacquiao's. We have to prove that first, I'm afraid. Look, Rothmas says Jim Jones take a sip of the Kool-Aid. Alex says Khan does look bigger than Canelo legitimately. I must have taken another look. Look, Khan is a tall, rangy guy. I don't think he's bigger in terms of build. I think Canelo looked a lot thicker to me. Sam says Wilder's a bum. Watching his fight made me cringe with all the windmills. Better by Far. Wilder does that weird hands in the air, jump backwards maneuver. Yeah, we call it the dodgeball maneuver. Callum says you admit he has no power, like it's not concerning. So basically, you think he'll outbox every heavyweight in the world, disregard him getting dropped by journeyman cruiserweights. The thing is, Callum, I wouldn't disregard him getting dropped by cruiserweights if he was hurt, but he wasn't. He was effectively pushed over. He got up and won the fight immediately afterwards. He lost his balance. He was knocked off by being defensively irresponsible. But since then, he's put in masterful defensive performances. And yeah, Tyson Fury is an out-and-out boxer. He's not a banger. I do think he is the best heavyweight boxer on the planet by some margin, yeah. So I do pick him to win by outboxing people. Nur thinks Khan will beat Canelo. Hello, Nur. Thanks for tuning in. Titus loves pop, says other than huge power, Fury has everything. Inside game, variation, body punching, heart, stamina, ring intelligence, switch hitter, the best at my games. Brilliant comment, Titus. Totally agree. Mr. Solitude, rumour has it Khan's training camps is based in Burger King. Oh dear. Let's have a look. I've just lost my place in the chat for a second. Bear with me, guys. Nabs, come May 7th, we'll see why Mayweather and Pac ducked Khan. Callum, one punch is all it takes in this division. Fury cannot outbox everyone without getting clipped. He will get caught eventually. Yeah, I'm sure he will get caught, but Tyson Fury's never been knocked out. What makes you think he'll get knocked out once he got caught? He was caught hard by Vladimir Klitschko and didn't even get dropped. A point which Ruben goes on to make says he did get caught and was okay. Nab says Khan is going to box circles around a crude Canelo. Kanini says Junior Farr, who beat Parker in the amateurs, has just turned professional. Yeah, I've heard that name actually. I haven't checked him out, but I must do. Nab says Laura, Cotto, Mayweather, Trout all beat Canelo and outboxed him. I don't agree with that, but yeah, Mayweather certainly beat him. Laura arguably beat him. Escobar, do you think Wilder could get troubled by a top-class counterpuncher? I think Wilder could get troubled by a medium-class counterpuncher, Escobar. Better by far, says Junior. Farr is the best to look out for. Sorry, he's one to look out for. Alex says, only way Khan wins is if Stone Cold Steve Austin interferes. Tutor, does Hay have good form in predicting fights? Because he seems certain Khan is going to slip Canelo, Mayweather. I don't know about David Hay's form. David Hay always has an agenda, though, and he put it that way. Sam's Alawaye, you said you don't rate Saddam Ali. He will win against Jesse Vargas. I don't think I said I don't rate Saddam Ali. I said I don't think I've seen enough of Saddam Ali to rate him. I need, to be honest, I've just not put the time in. So, yeah, to be honest, that's something I'm not fully informed on. I need to watch up more. It's not that I don't rate him. Yeah, you've got 43 people watching. So if you want to call in, add me on Skype, boxing.gossip. Please phone in. We'll get you straight on. If you are one of those 43 watching, please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the subscribe button. Help me get this channel going a bit more. Callum says Saddam Ali very slick, rate him highly. Ruff must have, did anyone cringe to the nines when Joshua tried to make Martin jump and he didn't flinch at all? Yes, I did. Nav says Khan is the fastest boxer in the world. He may be right. Better by far. Canelo is a great fighter. Another time, another place. I think he could beat Mayweather. I really rate Canelo. I thought he seemed quite a level below Mayweather the night they fought, though. I wouldn't necessarily be picking him to get the reverse in that one, I must be honest. Callum says Canelo has his feet in cement. Yeah, he's not the most natural mover around the ring. Let's put it that way. And Khan certainly needs to use that to his advantage in this fight. I just feel that Khan is too easy to walk down, positioning corners. I don't think Khan has the defensive responsibility combined with his chin. Guys, I've been chatting now for an hour 15. I need to get myself another beer. My throat is sore from all the ranting. You know, I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. We've had some good topics that have come up, kept it quite, you know, loose today. Callum says, boxing gossip, random question. Do you think Mayweather lost to Castillo? No, I don't. But I think it was very, very tight. Could have gone either way. A draw would have been a fair result. Sam says, thoughts on Billy Joe fighting him down, as the rumors say. Tricky fight, and down. It's not dissimilar type of fighter to Billy Joe. I'd pick Billy Joe. It's a kind of risky but low reward fight for me. Escobar says Khan fans underrating Canelo. Totally agree. Tutor, what do you think's going on with Booth and Eubanks? Is he in or out? I think he's out. You know, Booth's an ego himself, and he's possibly. I hear he's been training with Bradley Skeet. He's possibly too. You know, the Eubanks situation is a bit of a mess. Conini says shout out to New Zealand. Davin says Ortiz is better power than Fury. Yes, I agree. Better by far says thanks for the show. Your channel is growing. Thanks to everyone who tunes in. Thanks to everyone who subscribes. That helps me to grow it out, and I'm going to keep trying to grow it this year, and you know, see if we can turn it into something. Guys, thanks very much for everyone who's watched tonight. Thanks very much to everyone who hasn't watched live but will watch this. It will go up on the channel. It will take probably about half an hour to upload because it's a longer one. Thanks very, very much indeed to everyone who has tuned in tonight. And thanks to Joker Boxing for calling in. You know, we can get more callers in future. It's the same, we didn't get more tonight. Thursdays at 8 p.m. I'm going to try and do it every week. I may well try and do this Sunday during the day at some point as well. Do another show because I've got some spare time on Sunday, and obviously it'd be good to discuss Saturday's action. So let's have a look. Let's see. Rose beats Matthew Macklin, by the way. Macklin is well gone for me. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Callum says good slow piece. Thanks very much, Callum. Thanks very much to everyone who's commented. Thanks very much to everyone who's liked and subscribed. Hope everyone has a good evening, and yeah, look forward to it. Hopefully we can do it again soon, and hope to speak to you all again.